My biggest blunder.
The biggest blunder I've done in business.
My definite biggest blunder.
Well, depending on how you look at it, it's probably from all the risk.
As you know the saying that says, it is better to switch on a candle than to cast the darkness. And that is my story today. When I started my journey in entrepreneurship, I was working full-time employment as I'm an industrial engineer. I was working for one of the big corporates, manufacturing companies here in South Africa. So having working full-time, I accumulated funds to buy equipment to start my business, which started as a side hustle. So now being a side hustle, I was doing jobs on weekends, which was normally your weddings, events, musical events, concerts, gigs, parties and stuff like that. But as I grew, the business created a demand which needed me to do gigs now, which were during the week, which was your corporate opportunities, where companies now were offering me opportunities to start doing their gigs. But that was like during the week, so I couldn't do them because I had a full-time job. Fast forward to the future, I resigned my job and then went full-time into business. Now this is where the story begins, where now I started business with partnerships, which I believe is a part of growing your business. So my first partner was an old friend of mine who was a high school friend, and we grew up together. So I know this guy, I trust this guy, and also he was my varsity friend. While I was doing industrial engineering, he was doing photography as a course. So I put him in the business because one, he's an old friend of mine, I trust him. Second, he's a qualified photographer. He's a guy who studied for this thing. So he brought skills, knowledge, and growth into the business. But as we were growing, he started changing. He started having an ego, which created many disputes among us, which eventually led to the end of our partnership and friendship. After that, I ran alone the business, but because of there's a demand, there's always a need to work with someone. I then pulled a new friend now. This guy I just recently met, and we've been friends for a year or so. So he's been in the game. I met him at a job. He was also working as a videographer. So we started to have a small friendship, which led to our new partnership. The partnership that came with a lot of problems for me, which changed my business, changed my life, and created a downfall for me in a spiral way that I didn't recognize at first. Long story short, first incident, having working with my new friend, my new partner. We did quite a lot of good jobs, good gigs, we ran quite good. So eventually, he then started to bring new things to me that I didn't understand, which was one, he introduced his old friend to me, who was also somehow part-time into the business. That old friend of his one time came to us and said, guys, can you please borrow me your equipment? Which was the first blunder. Guys, can you please borrow me your equipment? My wife has a gig and I need to go shoot the gig and I need better equipment. So because of I'm trusting a friend who's trusting his friend, so I'm trusting a friend of a friend. In that scenario, we gave the guy the equipment. He went, and this was 2020 March. So the guy took the equipment fine. When we were supposed to go get the equipment, the guy was nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found. We go to his apartment. The security guy told us when we got to the gate that no, that guy actually was moving out. This morning, a truck took his stuff. He said he's moving out, but we didn't know moving to where. That's when our eyes opened and we realized that we were being mugged. We lost our equipment, a whole lot of stuff, cameras, about 4 cameras with lenses, a whole lot of equipment, lighting, mics, everything that we owned. Basically, we trusted this guy with that stuff, knowing that, he will bring it back, in simple terms. we didn't realize we were being marked. We lost equipment worth 250 to 300K. That was a big downfall for me. And this friend of mine, because of this happened around March, the following week when we realized that we are being marked, it was when the COVID outbreak was taking over the world. And that time, that week when we were looking for him, going to the police stations, it was when the first national lockdown of South Africa was happening. So it's locked down. We can't search for the guy. The police are not able to help us to the full extent. There's less movement. So you can imagine the kind of trauma and stress it was causing to me, because of now we can't search for the guy. It's locked down. No one is moving. No one is going anywhere. We are working from home. We are locked in. No one is going to work. No one is traveling. No one is doing anything. So no one is looking for the guy, basically. So when the lockdown ended, the first phase ended, it was already a month and a half later. We then realized we have lost the guy. That means we have lost our equipment. We get up our faith. We gained strength. We thought, okay, fine, it's a failure. We learned. It won't happen again. We will grow. We started borrowing equipment from guys, and we started doing some stuff, just so we can regain our equipment. You see. So basically what happened then, we worked, we bought some small cameras, we raised. But it's when I didn't realize, because I reinvested my trust in my friend again, who to me is a business partner. With no paperwork, no nothing, 50-50 partnership, only with the mouth, So I'm trusting him, only to realize, this time he's the one knocking me. How did I know? Early last year, 2021, I realized that this guy, for the past 4 to 5 months, he's been using the new equipment we've been gathering to have his own gigs on the side. Sometimes I'll call him, I don't find him. Sometimes we're supposed to meet, he's coming up with excuses, only to find out, no, this guy is now knocking me. After being knocked by his friend, he's the one knocking me now. He's knocking me finances by doing gigs on the side, and he keeps all the money to himself. And until mid last year, I realized, and then he confessed, because of now, he couldn't hide anymore. The gigs were coming so much to him until he got a contract with one of the big music companies that gave him a contract to do music videos for them. And he took that gig and contract all alone by himself without me. So that's where our friendships ended. That was a breaking point for me. That was a situation that led me to a very, very long and strong setback, which I had to fight with everything that I have. Now, having been learned that was my biggest blunder in business, having to trust partners without having a security of some sort, you see. So the issue with partnerships, I learned the hard way. So first lesson is that do not ignore the red flags, because with my second partnership with the guy that I was partnering with, I could see the red flags. He would do some stuff there and there, but I couldn't realize that he's knocking me, because of I would search for him in terms of I'll call him, I don't find him, then he'll call me later, hey, sorry, I couldn't hear your phone, I was sleeping, giving me lame excuses. But those were the red flags, but I ignored for some time, And another red flag is that sometimes when you are the one who brings the business alone, you're thinking, okay, business is running, it's smooth. So at that time, I was the one bringing business. Only to find out that he is also getting business, but he's chowing alone. So never bring business alone in partnerships. You must share the responsibilities of bringing business, because then you realize the person is with you. So that time I didn't realize that, because of I was bringing more business. But he was bringing business, but only for himself, not for us. And then lesson number 2, do not have a partnership without any legalities, meaning do not have any partnership that is not legal. that is not legally binding, that has no paperwork, and that has no signatures of some sort or any form of legal agreement, so that you can fight your things, or you can fight your way back, or fight the situation if it is worth fighting for. In my situation, it was not worth fighting for because there was no any legal agreement, there was nothing attached to it, so it was a loss of money, a loss of equipment, a loss of a whole lot of stuff. And lastly, the last lesson is that in partnership, learn who your partner is, learn the person, learn their flaws, learn their imperfections, and somehow gather your own knowledge to see if the partnership is worth it. Even prior to having the legalities, learn who you are dealing with. And then that was me, because that was my sad story. I lost equipment, I lost money, I lost everything, and which to me led me to a biggest setback, which was my biggest blunder and failure. But instead of looking down on myself and thinking I have failed, I decided to rise up again. I'm back, I'm working, I'm shooting this video with my new equipment, with my new partner who is my brother. It's better to trust your brother because of, blood is thicker than water. So this time, this is where we are going. We are growing strong, we are bigger now. In fact, we are doing greater stuff. So having been learned on my lesson, it has been the biggest blunder for me. Know that your partnership must be sealed with legalities, and know your partner. But as for me, I've rose again, and I've decided that it is better to switch on a candle than to cast the darkness of partnership. And I thank you.